is the Flex Network. Flex on everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Flex Network. I'm your host, Flex Shane. You can follow me on Twitter at the Flex Network 1. I am joined by the original season Long Sez, Alan Seslowski. What is going on, brother?
Was there another season Long Sez before this? I'm the original, and then there's another season Long Sez?
Well, you've been replaced, you see. You've been replaced slowly but surely. Oh, we got clip going on. Let's get it, baby. Yeah, so Al, you are a hard man to pin down, but we made it happen because we got to give the people what they want. We got Alan Seslowski back on the Flex Network. We are recording this the morning of September 12th, morning of week 1. Man, we made it here. It's been a wild ride. How you doing, Al? How you feeling this morning?
I'm almost disappointed because it's like, you know what it is? It's like Sigmund Bloom said this the other day on his show, on his podcast, Football Guys. He said, like, this last few days before the season is almost like when you're on a roller coaster. You're strapped in, and it goes tick, 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 tick. And then you get to the top, and then the season kicks off. It's like, So I just want it to happen right now. I'm disappointed because, like, we love all the preseason analysis, but now it is time for the reveal. So in that sense, I am excited. I can't wait to sit down, and I'm overwhelmed because it always seems so far away, and now it's here. So I'm happy to. I just want to see some of the answers to the questions we had.
There's just been so many questions. You know, that makes me think of, though, Al, like New Year's Eve was always like, you know, it's the big party of the year. It's got to be the biggest, the best music, the best people. And then New Year's would always come and go. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess it was fun. But it's like, was it really that good? Was it worth the hype? Was it worth paying $50 per seat for dinner? Probably not really. But, man, I don't know. See, NFL, it's just the fun thing is that it kind of hits you with a wave, right? Like, obviously, it's like that taste on Thursday night. And then we got games all day Sunday night, Monday. And then with that Thursday night game, like, it's all week. That's all we talk about. And it's here. It's going to be a sea of information for the next, 4.5 months until we get to the end of the season. And it's going to be a wild ride, man. Before you're going to blink and it's going to be over. Yeah,
a lot of overreactions today, which I'm looking forward to. And, you know, it's funny, though. I expected people to overreact, like on Zeke's poor performance the other night, but people seem to be pretty level-headed. They're chalking it off to, like, hey, it was against Tampa, good defense. I wish I could be that rational. I mean, I have Zeke on a few teams, and I'm like, why did I pass on Derrick Henry for him? You know? Well,
I was chatting with Brandon about it yesterday on the show, and he's like, panic button is real, man. It's if you drafted Zeke, I mean, he said he faded them a lot, so he was probably drafting Derrick Henry ahead of Zeke. But man, I mean, the signs were kind of there, right? And Tony Pollard is hashtag good, so it's going to be interesting with the 17-game season.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I'm not out on Zeke. I mean, he's still going to get a crap load of touches, and he's going to get, you know, a lot of goal line equity. That was a tough matchup. So maybe if anyone's panicking, this is actually the greatest time to make a trade offer for Zeke. So yeah, I mean,
I just hear the chat. There's been some chats in the league, and it's like the vultures are swarming for that Zeke manager, and just like all those lowball offers, like, hey, Will Fuller for Ezekiel Elliott, straight up, let's go right now. I mean, Will Fuller's come back next week, right? Week 2. It's crazy. But so, Al, today we actually have a bonus episode for the people. We heard the people. They said we need to get Al back on the show. And I think, okay, so my goal today, we're going to have 5 burning questions with maybe a few bonus questions thrown in there that aren't going to be specific for week 1. So when you're answering these questions, take them in the context of kind of the whole season and, you know, take a step back, because as we approach the season, right, it's draft season, and it's the whole context of the entire season. You're drafting your team, you know, presumably for the season. Obviously, waiver wires, et cetera, it's going to change, but the approach is for the season. Now it's like week 1. Okay, should I drop this guy that I drafted in the 7th round for Tyson Williams or something like that, right? Like, it's just, there's so many questions, and where do we submit my questions? And now it's like, okay, we need to take a step back and just remember, take a breath and realize, okay, it's a long season. Don't panic after the first week if you're an Ezekiel Elliott manager, and maybe it's open up. But are you ready, Al, to get started with some of the 5 burning questions that I want to ask you this fantasy football season?
I just want to underline something you said that was really important, is that
Yes.
don't panic, but make sure you're adjusting to new circumstances on the ground. Tyson Williams is now the running back one on that team. You need to draft him as such. Yes, there is some risk, but adjust to the circumstances on the ground.
One of the things that we always would do in previous seasons, Al, and maybe we'll have you on the show again in about a month to look at this again. It's after 2 or 3 weeks of the regular season, how would you do your redraft today? And it's always a fun exercise, right? Because so much is going to change in the coming weeks as that information reveals itself. But with that in mind, my first burning question, and it's related to Ezekiel Elliott, but it was something that we were kind of hemming and hawing about as we were approaching fantasy season. Is the age of the true RB bell cow extinct?
Not extinct, but it's certainly the true RB bell cow is more rare. It's an American species. It's an endangered species. Great way to put it. I mean, Dalvin Cook still exists. He's not extinct. Najee Harris still exists. He's not extinct. But those guys become either more valuable because there's less of them, or more expendable because only a few people in your league are going to get them. So, similar to the elite tight end, the Travis Kelce, Darren Waller types. Those guys are rare as well. The ones that perform like top 8 wide receivers, but we don't all rush out to go get them. Some of our league mates do, and some of them don't.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a league mate drafting Travis Kelce in round 1. Now, until he, isn't Travis Kelce, he's going to be going to round 1 from here on out. I think that's interesting. I mean, I kind of feel the same as you. There's like those few rare players that you want to go after, but
you don't need them. So I was going to say, you don't always need to be a bell cow.
Nope.
Let's say the upside scenario for DeAndre Swift pans out, where he's not a bell cow. He's a 18 touch a game player, but let's say he ends up, again, upside scenario only here. Let's say he ends up getting 9, 10, 11 catches a game, all right, for a running back. Then you don't care if he's a bell cow. You just don't mind. You're like, okay, my running back is going to get 10 or 11 easy dump offs from Jared Goff every game. He's a first round pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think the coaches are going to adjust just based on the fact that there is an extra game, but I think it was Sean McVay that was asked, are you going to change your approach to just your running backs with the extra game? It's like, not really. I mean, it's one extra game. You got to take it 1 week at a time. And your goal every single week is to win. How do you win? You use your best players. Bali, what's going on? Welcome back. We're here, baby. Okay. My second burning question for you, Al, and this one might be a little bit harder. So I guess I should say, I didn't send you these questions before, so you don't know what I'm going to ask you. And so I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. This is kind of a harder one. So who is a player that is going to surprise people this season? Now, this could be because of lack of performance due to past injuries, opportunities, or simply hasn't had an opportunity to break out. Now, I tend to think of this, as a glass half full kind of person and saying, they're going to surprise you in a good way. You are a classic wet blanket, says Lowski, though. So maybe it's going to be surprise people in a bad way. But who is one player who's going to surprise you this season?
Yeah, man. I have 2 players that come to mind immediately.
Okay.
I really am having trouble seeing anything. We just talked about DeAndre Swift, seeing anything except the upside. But since we already talked about him, I laid out the case. I think that Tua is actually going to be good. I think that's the player who's going to surprise everybody. And the other one is Baker Mayfield. And the reason I picked those 2 players is because in one quarterback leagues, those 2 rarely get drafted, but both are set up for success. Their teams actually did everything that they could to put them in a position to succeed. Baker Mayfield was the number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
And Tua was the presumed number 1 overall pick until he got hurt. Now, there's no question at this point that any rational person would take Justin Herbert over Tua. And Tua versus Joe Burrow is an open debate, I think, at this point. But I think Tua, with the weapons that they put around him, is going to be someone that people are like, oh, yeah, it was tank for Tua. So I still believe that Tua will surprise some people, even if not in week 1 against the Patriots defense, which how much Bill Belichick can eat up inexperienced quarterbacks. Tua and Baker Mayfield are 2 quarterbacks I think that we're going to be talking about as rock-solid options when we talk about our draft board next year.
Do you remember 2 years ago when Baker Mayfield was going in round 5 of drafts, 1 quarterback drafts? The hype was real after his rookie season. He was the next great quarterback.
Well, do you remember why that happened? Do you remember the exact sequence of events? Was he had a good he had a good end of year, and then he was going in the 8th or 9th round, and then they added Odell Beckham, and then he moved up.
And that was it, right? It was just all right. It's how's Odell Beckham doing, man? My God, it sounds like he's going to play this week, but talk about just a cliff.
Well, I just think that, peak Odell Beckham if he is still the guy who he was, which I highly doubt, then it's going to be, it's going to be even better for Baker Mayfield. But I don't think at this point any of us believe that pre-injury peak Odell Beckham, one-handed catch in the end zone Odell Beckham even exists.
It just reminds me of is the whole Josh Gordon thing. Every time he's back in the league, oh man, league winning upside, and then he just, does nothing. Just hanging on your bench, clogging up a roster spot. Not for me.
Beckham probably has a little bit of a higher floor than Gordon did in his post-peak days. But I want to put that question back on you. Who's a player that you think could be surprising us in week 6, or 3 weeks from now? And we're like, oh my God, I can't believe we were so low on this guy.
Yeah, so the guy that I kind of just picked up as my flyer this week, in my home league, it's kind of a shallow bench. It's only 5 players, and slowly it's been like friggin' pulling teeth. But we've slowly added startable players. So we added the super flex a couple years ago. We added finally a second flex player. It's only a 10-person league, so it's quite shallow. We were starting 2 wide receivers, but we still only have 5 bench. So you have to make some strategic decisions. And a guy that I've started to pick up, and it's a guy I've loved all off season, but just for a shallower league like that, it wasn't a guy that I initially went out and drafted, was Bryan Edwards. I really think that this is going to be the sophomore wide receiver that really nobody's talking about yet. And man, you know what? He's the kind of guy where I want to see how he performs on Monday night. And if he shows something, then I'm absolutely going to keep him on my bench. But if he does nothing, because frankly, Derek Carr has one guy and his name is Darren Waller, then it's going to be a quick guy that I cut. But I think that Bryan Edwards is going to be a guy that really does break out this year. I mean, he had a lot going against him in the previous years. The foot injury made him fall in the draft. And I'm looking forward to see what Bryan Edwards can do this season. He's a guy that I've gotten in a few of my dynasty leagues where people are kind of, I think people have the same suspicion that this is really a true alpha wide receiver. And people are starting to, get those kind of like feeler offers out. And just hold on to that because I think that he's going to break out. I don't believe in Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, I mean, either him or Henry Ruggs has to break out, right? Like one of them has to. They can't have a 0 wide receivers. I mean, if Derek Carr throws the ball 550 times, and that's conservative estimate, Darren Waller can't have 280 catches. You know what I'm saying? Like they cut John Brown. They cut John Brown, or they released him, or they let him go, whatever he wanted. And Nelson Aguilar left the team in free agency. So they only have Willie Snead, I think, is there. I mean, there's nobody really there other than the 2 young wide receivers, the 2 second-year wide receivers, and Darren Waller. So presumably one of them has to break out unless there's someone else on the roster we just don't know about. Kenyon Drake presumably will get some catches. So, yeah, I think that's a great pick. Bryan Edwards is, he's got that profile that of an alpha. He fell in the draft only because of injury. He seems to be definitely a analytics darling. So I'm with you. I think that's a really good pick.
Does it surprise you? Because they went back-to-back Bryan Edwards, Lynn Bowden last year. Does it surprise you that they traded Bowden to the Dolphins? Like, that seems odd. Why not just keep him?
Well, maybe there was something that they saw or didn't like. And sometimes when you buy something and you can't get your full money back, but you can get 80 cents on the dollar back. You're like, all right, just take it. It was a bad draft pick, but probably good that they were able to recoup. They took him in the 3rd and they got back a 4th. All right. It's sunk cost. We don't need him. We don't want him. At least we can get something back for him.
Yeah. It's funny. I think I know I was very low on Henry Ruggs last year. You were, I say, medium temperature on Henry Ruggs last year.
No,
but
I still like Ruggs. I still like him.
It's going to be interesting, right? I mean, we talk about with Brandon a lot in the show where typically a wide receiver, when they take the biggest leap in their career from one year to the next, is when they go from a rookie to a sophomore. After they've had the season under their belt, things start to click a little bit. And the sophomore nobody's talking about is Henry Ruggs. Like he was, a 10th, 11th, 12th round pick in leagues this year in drafts?
Yeah, if you all you want to see is something from your rookie wide receiver, you want to look at Jerry Jeudy, for example. It didn't go great all year, and then we saw that 190-yard run he had, and now we're excited about him again. And then the whole drum beat, the whole momentum started building for him. Ruggs
Absolutely.
had a very uninspiring rookie season, but he was the wide receiver 1 in his class. I mean, that means something. They're going to want to get him going. I still think that Derek Carr is a good NFL quarterback. He's kind of like the new Andy Dalton, right? Derek Carr is the player where he could totally support a team. He's always going to be like QB 13, like if you ranked him in like the real NFL, but he's not a top 5 quarterback. So, and he's obviously a couple years younger than Dalton. So I still like Ruggs. I think that your pick of Edwards is a good one too. One of those guys will break out this year. It has to.
I think so. My money would be on Bryan Edwards, but who knows, man? If Ruggs can put it together and he's got that speed, maybe he could be the next. I don't want to say it, but maybe the next Tyreek Hill, maybe. All right, my next question for you, Al. You are engaged with a lot of different fantasy information providers. Let's call it right now. Is there a new fantasy style platform that nobody's really talking about right now that you believe everybody should give a try? So something like a Thrive Fantasy. Is there something that's new or that's been around for a little while that you really enjoy? I know DFS Army is working with one right now, but is there one that you really just recommend? It's a lot of fun. It's maybe a weekly game that people can jump into in addition to their season-long leagues that you would suggest to people go download right now in the App Store?
Oh yeah, this is a no-brainer call for me. Owner's Box. So Owner's Box, They are a sponsor of the DFS Army podcast, but the reason they are a sponsor is because I was playing them. The Geek was playing their game, and we reached out to them and said we love the game. And basically, it's weekly fantasy football, daily fantasy football, but with a super flex. So
cool.
Yes, and there's a lot of nuance to the game, but Owner's Box, there's no sharks on there. Nobody. If you are a shark, go swim in Owner's Box. Download their app. You could use code. Actually, they gave us a new code just now as we were. Let me see it right here.
As we're chatting,
the guy sent me an email. Yeah. Let's see if it promo code will give you it. Okay, it's NFLW1, and you get free $10. Now, it doesn't mean you have to deposit $10 on Owner's Box. It means just use that code and you get free $10. Like you don't have to make a deposit.
Repeat that again. Okay,
so if you go to Owner's Box, which is Superflex Daily Fantasy.
Okay.
And you use code NFLW1, NFL Week 1.
Okay.
W1.
Yeah.
They're just going to give you $10. You don't have to make a deposit. Just go play. And I think their huge contest is $10. So go there. So if you just want a free roll, right? A $10 free roll or use it on. Yeah. And it's Superflex Daily Fantasy, which I like.
So after this
podcast,
I'm going to go download it. No, I'm asking you because I want to go play someone.
Yeah, Owner's Box is a good one. And the interface is good. Drew Brees is their spokesperson. Yeah. But
what do you think about Drew Brees taking that media jump? I think he's going to be good.
I don't like Drew Brees as a commentator. I put him in the same bucket as, listen, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's just kind of like vanilla, kind of like Peyton Manning. Like I don't like Peyton Manning either. Tony Romo, obviously everyone loves him. He's good, but I understand why people like Drew Brees. I just want a little bit more, not just like top line. You don't think he's a little vanilla when he's doing his media stuff? It's okay.
It's going to be a curve, right? Like, look, he's not going to jump out and be like electric. That's just kind of not Drew Brees.
Romo was
pretty good. Yeah. Clip has a question. NFL W1 as in the number one or spelt out?
NFLW and then the number one.
The number one. All right, Clip.
Yep.
So download it right now and tell us your lineup, Clip. Tweet out your lineup because I'm very curious to see what I should not do this week. Shots. Just kidding. All right, Kate. Our next question, Alan Seslowski.
You're so cruel to him. You're so cruel.
You know what? Clip comes on here and he just talks shit. Just boom, 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 boom. Like, again, in the absence of Alan Seslowski, we need at least one wet blanket in the chat room, and his name is Clipboard Jesus. All right. Okay, Al. The fourth burning question that I have for you this season of the aging veterans. Now, when I say aging veterans, I mean players generally over 35 years old, not including the GOAT that is Tom Brady, who has the best shot to win the Super Bowl this year, and who is a potential dark horse, do you think, to win the Super Bowl this year? So the players specifically, Aaron Rodgers, and Roethlisberger, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Matt Ryan. So you think the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year and the dark horse to win the Super Bowl this year?
I mean, the Green Bay Packers are all set up to win. I mean, everything
Yep.
has lined up well for them. They still have Aaron Rodgers. They brought in Randall Cobb, which may not be a good fantasy asset, but it's certainly a good complement to Aaron Rodgers. It's like Julian Edelman for Tom Brady, right? I mean, that's not the exact same level, but it's someone he's comfortable throwing with in the slot. So I think the kind of obvious answer would be the Green Bay. I mean, they will have to go through Tom Brady, but they, of the options that you gave, I don't think that I think Pittsburgh is rebuilding on the fly. They have the horses. It's just not sure. I believe in Ben Roethlisberger. And if you talk about a dark horse, I don't. It does sound like Washington football team with a defense. If the offensive weapons come alive, you got to like them to be the division winner. If they get a first round, they won't get a bye because there's only one bye now. You never know. I also think that Ryan Fitzpatrick, I've been very vocal about this, is not going to make it through the year. I think Taylor Heineke is going to see. Put it this way: I have a side bet with someone who's going to make more starts in 2021. Justin Fields for the Bears or Ryan Fitzpatrick for the Washington football team. I'm on the Field side because I think
like that.
Yes, it's an interesting one. I think that you'll see at least 10 starts from Fields, and I would put the under over at Fitzpatrick starts at 8.
That's some fire right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's a hot take. That is a hot take, Al. I mean, I think people are thinking like the Washington football team has a pretty we know they've got an amazing defense, obviously, right? It kind of got into the playoffs last year, but they just didn't quite have that quarterback. And Fitz has shown the magic once in a while. Ooh, we got some. Okay, Yo Mama So Fat, we are back, boys, and of course Sapper Stub, which is of course Brandon D Adam 19. Yo boys, let me in. Oh, you want in Sapper? Maybe we can try to do this as a multitask. But okay, Alan Seslowski, did you know that Matt Stafford's 33 years old? I was going to include Stafford in this. Like, he is a sneaky 33 years old only. That's quite young.
The only reason I know his age is that he went to the same high school in Texas as my sister. So every time her birthday comes, I always think, oh, Matt Stafford's this many years old. So again, it's just a little bit of a cheat code. And I always connect my sister's birthday with Stafford's birthday. So it's funny that you asked that because that's literally a thing that goes on in my brain internally every time she has another birthday.
Yeah, it's something.
33 is young.
33 is young. Oh, dude. I am officially, so I'm 35 right now. It's my birthday next Friday. So I'm officially on the latter end of 35 as of next week. I feel old. So what do? We talk about football. We talk about youthful players coming in. Hey, just a side question. This isn't really one of the burning questions. Do you think Trey Lance is actually like legit going to start this year? Even say the Niners are rolling, everybody stays healthy, Jimmy G staying healthy. Do you think that Lance is going to go in this season?
This is a great question because this goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, that we don't want to be anchored to our preseason takes and we want to adapt to circumstances on the ground. If you would have asked me this in June or July, I would have said it's about 95 to 99% sure that Lance is going to make more starts than Garoppolo. And then as I thought about it a little bit, you're like, wait a second. Okay. Some of the beat writers that do have some credibility or a lot of credibility, I said Lance is just not ready for prime time yet. He's better skilled player than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's going to be a great player, but based on the practices that they're witnessing, again, I don't have my eyes on the ground that he's just not ready for prime time yet. So if Jimmy Garoppolo, who hasn't been able to stay healthy, gets hurt, then obviously he'll play. But just based on performance, and if you look at how the 49ers are built, I think that it's, Jimmy Garoppolo was a great pick in Superflex League. So I would say that there's probably just on benching alone, there's probably only about a 15, 20% chance that in the first 8 games, and then who knows what happens after that.
Jimmy Garoppolo, when he started, was, let's call it an okay fantasy start. I mean, he averaged probably between 22, 23 fantasy points a week. I mean, it was pretty stable. And his supporting cast, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, of course, that I think my breakout player this year is Brandon Ayuk on that team. He's got a supporting cast and he's got the that running game, man, to make sure that he hopefully doesn't get injured this year. So, all right. This is good timing. I'm going to invite Brandon Adam here for this last burning question because it just seems appropriate. We've been talking about this all year. Brandon Adam, what's going on, brother?
How you guys doing?
Good. This is impromptu, ladies and gentlemen. We had to get Brandon on because he couldn't not be on the Flex Network, and
No.
perfect timing, Brandon. So we are doing, of course, the 5 burning questions. I've asked him the first 4 questions. This is one that I think maybe both you guys can ask. So, okay, Al, you first, okay? As we reach the crescendo that is hype season, the most important question, the most burning question that I have in my loins this year is Jalen Hurts for real?
I mean, he actually exists. He's metaphysically real. Is that what you mean? Or do you mean is he a good?
I can't do it, Al. I can't be here like this emotionally.
Jalen Hurts is one of those players that exists a real possibility for there to be a big gap between his fantasy value and his real NFL value. I believe that he's probably a good player. You cannot ignore that all of the momentum has been like, we'll wait and see. He's going to have to adhere to our offense. We're not going to design an offense for him. Maybe we're in the Deshaun Watson trade market. So that backs me off him a little bit. But in a 1 quarterback league, you just draft him for the upside. He's probably the second best or third best runner at the quarterback position when you talk about Lamar and Kyler Murray. So I think he's going to be a good fantasy player.
Here's the thing that I don't quite understand. When Lamar Jackson had his 1 or 2 starts in his rookie season, and he looked electric out there, people were drafting him and saying, okay, this is a dark horse. This is the guy that's going to win you your leagues. Al, if I remember correctly, you were one of the highest Lamar Jackson enthusiasts in his sophomore season, and you had a hell of a lot of Lamar Jackson. And I think you won a lot of leagues because of it. What's different about Jalen Hurts? Like, what is it? Just the supporting cast around him? Like, what's so different about it? I know Clip was as well, but what was so different? Like, what's different now?
The support from the team. And I think that's really the key thing. Yeah, I see Brandon's nodding along too. I want to hear his opinion on this after. I just that when Lamar Jackson, they basically designed the offense around him. They supported him. They put the pieces around him that he needed, the scheme to succeed. Whereas what did Philadelphia do? Again, in addition to all those things we just talked about, they brought in Gardner Minshew. Now, Gardner Minshew, he's a backup. But wait till you hear, if the Eagles go 1-3, 2-5, wait till you hear what happens when that Philly crowd starts chanting for Gardner Minshew. It's a very powerful force.
Yeah, I saw what Gardner Minshew did last year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not too damn worried. Brandon, we've talked about this, what feels like ad nauseum. Do you and we're talking about fantasy football here. Is Jalen Hurts the real deal for fantasy football, Brandon, or are you out? This is it? You're either in or you're out. That's it. Oh, and he's on mute. We can't hear him.
Yeah,
that's it. That was
you had your close up moment and it was on mute.
We had you before.
Tap on the mic. Tap on the mic. Tap on it.
Oh, there we go.
Now okay, go.
Now we got you. Let's talk.
No, Jalen Hurts is 100% going to be the Philly guy. I think that's going to happen. I think they had their shot at. I think Watson is going to be a Miami Dolphin. I think that's where the draft capital and I think that's the direction they're going to go. I don't think Philly can outbid Miami next year. So I think that's where I think Miami's all in on Watson next year. And then Jalen will be just fine. Especially like Jalen, he's on that like Russell Wilson kind of trajectory where he's got to beat out these veteran quarterbacks. And I think he will, especially after today's shootout.
I certainly hope so. I mean, I'm gonna officially, put the Jalen Hurts conversation on the shelf because I feel like it's every single show we've been talking about it. So now we're just gonna wait and see. The takes are out there. It's in the stratosphere. And now we just have to see what happens. Yes, Al.
You were talking about like veteran quarterbacks and Aaron Rodgers and all that before.
Yes.
I don't even know if this is like an out of left field comment, but I noticed on one of the sports book the other day, the favorite was for Aaron Rodgers to play his first snap in 2022 was on the Steelers.
Ooh. Yeah. The Steelers can afford to do it, right? It would be the perfect pivot.
That's pretty cool, right? I saw
oh
that
my
in a
God.
sports book.
Could you imagine Claypool with Rodgers? Oh my goodness. Like that would be perfect chemistry for both of them. They would be amazing.
Juju Smith-Schuster would probably not be on the team, and don't be surprised if they sign who.
Yeah,
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
They could do that, right? Do they have the money to do that? I don't know. Like
they have the money to get Aaron Rodgers.
When those opportunities come about, you make shuffle
money.
pieces. Yeah,
for for sure.
I mean, here's the thing, right? Like a lot of their starters on the offense are on their rookie deals still.
Yeah.
So why would they not be able to afford it? Like that's
Yeah.
when you go and you win.
You can
pay
move the pieces
quarterback.
around.
Well, they just
can move
paid
some pieces around.
TJ Watt some ridiculous money this year, so they got Mika Fitzpatrick as well to pay too soon. So that's going to be extremely tough. But Ben will be off the salary, so that Aaron and him can kind of just swap. So I could totally see that. But I would love him. I still think Aaron Rodgers to the Broncos is what's going to happen. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think John Elway has that swag to be able to get a veteran quarterback and seal that deal and get him in here.
Seen it.
I think I can totally see that.
Yeah. If they're in a room and Mike Tomlin is pitching and John Elway's pitching,
Sure.
I'm putting my money on Mike Tomlin. That guy's way
sure.
too smooth.
Sure,
He's
you're right.
smooth,
And
you're a
I-
leader
Mike
of
Tomlin's
men.
amazing.
Yeah,
All right,
and
so
I
I
agree
have
with
one-
you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Al.
No, I agree that Elway is a smooth operator, but he seems like the GM at like a car dealership, a little slick for my taste. Whereas Tomlin's kind of like a little bit more.
We
real
are going to
and-
come in here. We're going to execute our plan, and we're going to win football games. He's a freaking leader. Man. I love that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead. You have
All right,
one
I
more
have
question?
one last burning question. It is actually
Sure.
week one specific, and it's something that this is a legitimate question that I want to know. And I'll ask Brandon first this time, then I'll ask Al. Brandon, in your DFS lineups, who is your tinker player of week one? When I say tinker player, somebody that you're like, shit, this is somebody that with all the new information coming in, I'm tinkering my lineups to get this one player into my lineups. Who is that tinker player for you this week, Brandon?
Najee Harris.
Ooh.
I think Najee Harris has been. I think I've been pivoting off of Mixon into Najee Harris for a little bit cheaper salary to get some cap relief to be able to slam in a Kelsey. It's been. I'm all Kelsey and Kittle this week, so that's the two I went with, and I needed some salary relief. And Harris is around 11% ownership, so I think that's a nice pivot off of 30% of Mixon. So
There you go, Al.
Yeah, I'll give you two DFS plays, and again, let me caveat this by saying I am not a DFS expert. I love Dynasty, I love best ball, I love redraft, but sometimes the non-expert gives you the best tips because
never know.
the expert sees one path, whereas the non-expert sees many. Right.
Mhm.
So the two players that I like the best this week that I saw taking account low ownership and in the specific game is I think this is a Kareem Hunt week. Being if there's going to be a shootout and nobody wants Kareem Hunt, literally, I think it's single digits ownership or even low single digits. So
That's
Kareem
smart.
Hunt, yeah, I was just looking down. I was like, and again, I am not a DFS expert. I just looked down. I was like, oh, okay, I could see that. So, and the other one is if you just want to take a $5 bill and rip it in half, but have a chance to win $1 million on DraftKings in the showdown tonight, just put Justin Fields in your captain spot. And if Andy Dalton gets benched in the first quarter and they're like, we just need to go to Fields now, and he gets you a full game's worth of stats, just like they did with Deshaun Watson and Tom Savage. Again, you have no chance of winning the million anyway, so you might as well give yourself like a 0.001% chance. So I'm putting
sneaky.
I'm going to put Fields in my captain spot and understand that I'm literally lighting the $5 to $10 on fire anyway, whatever it is.
Whatever.
You
If you're making 20 lineups, who cares?
Right. You might as well do one where it gives you a chance to pop out.
That would be kind of cool.
Well, so a bet that Brandon put on for the Thursday night game that I think was extremely sharp is probably one that he probably was like, I'm maybe burning money here, but there's a better than zero chance is he had Gronk to score 2 touchdowns. And I think you cashed it quite profitably with that because look, when was the last time Gronk scored 2? I don't know. It's maybe the
Did he score 2 in Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think it was Super Bowl.
Yeah. The other prop I like today, I saw on DraftKings was Pitts over 40.5 yards. I thought that one looked a little soft. So
yeah. Also, Javonte Williams' rush yards is soft at 39, and I think Javonte Williams is going to score today. So I have the same game parlay in that for over on that and a score, and let's make some money.
That's awesome. So, all right. So we're going to end it here. Brandon, thank you for coming on for the last, burning questions. Al,
sorry,
we're going to
brother.
get you on as much as we can. No, it's all good.
Yeah.
This was a beautiful bonus episode. We're going to get Al on as much as we can. You're a busy man. Al, can you tell people what you're doing now? What is Alan Sezlowski doing in the fantasy football space right now?
Yeah, so what you need to do is just follow me on Twitter at Alan Seslowski, and I post all my fantasy football content there, which I'm doing a ton of in-season stuff for RotoWire, and of course, just I'm out there just producing stuff, giving you value to the people. But follow me on Twitter, and you can see everything I'm putting out if you're interested. And if you're a TikToker, come on over to TikTok. I am running the RotoWire TikTok account. We're building there, putting out content every day. So I love TikTok for fantasy football content. You have a lot of interesting creative creators. Even if some of the takes are good, some of the takes are bad, it doesn't matter. I think it's the best space to get fantasy football information right now, even more so than Twitter is. So follow at RotoWire on fantasy football TikTok.
Amazing. Sure. Brandon, how do good people find and interact with you to get your cockamamie comments?
Oh, I'm on Twitter, Brandon D Adam 19, and dude, I am so freaking pumped today. I woke up this morning and my heart rate is up, and I haven't felt this way in months, so I'm excited. So let's go.
I love it. Oh man, it's going to be a lot of fun, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming on a Sunday morning before the football week.
Before we sign off, you want to go one bold prediction each? Like 20th percentile outcome? Go ahead, Shane, you're first.
For the day? Oh, boy.
For the day. Week one, bold prediction. All right, Brandon, you can go first while Shane's thinking.
No, I got one.
Okay.
I'm all in at this point. I feel like it's a cop-out, but I'm just going to go out and say it. Jalen Hurts, quarterback one this week in fantasy football. Brandon.
I have Rondell Moore, 100 yards and a score.
Beautiful.
Sezzy.
Baker Mayfield, QB2 on the week.
Oh, I can see it.
That is a sharp-ass play.
I can see it, man. I can see that.
Man, I think it was Ian Hartitz from PFF that was talking about how statistically, when one quarterback, in this case Patrick Mahomes, is expected to score a hell of a lot of fantasy points, more often than not, other quarterback is going to score a hell of a lot of fantasy points as well. We were chatting about this game yesterday. I think Cleveland's going to give the Kansas City Chiefs a little bit of heartburn today and could get the upset, but we're just going to have to wait and see. So, Al, thank you for coming on. Brandon, thanks for jumping on. So, for Sez, for Brandon, for Flex Matt, I am Flex Shane, and we are the Flex Network.
The Flex Network. This is the Flex Network. Flex on them. Flex on everybody. This right here is the Flex Network. Yeah.